little Timmy is a big boy now. He has a cell phone and he's not afraid to run around without his parents. But his parents are a bit more worried, so what do? They install Life360 and now they can view their kid's location at any moment.
This is the situation many of the teens I know find themselves in. And although I don't touch grass, so I haven't installed a specific app, if I have to travel somewhere alone, I'll share my live location with my parents through WhatsApp. But this sucks. Like, think about it. Excluding the 0.1% of the time your parents are actually looking at your location, your phone keeps using GPS, mobile data and other resources to keep broadcasting your location to no one. And after looking around, there seem to be no efficient, on-demand location sharing apps. So, what did I do? Come on, you know me, I made my own! So it all started with a new project on Android Studio, which I'd used before to make my simple robot app. My idea was this. Each user would have a sharing flag, and if one or more users were trying to view their location, the sharing flag would be switched to true, and the target user would start broadcasting their location. However, if there was nobody viewing, the flag would be switched back to false, and the target user would stop broadcasting their location, saving precious battery and cell phone data. My plan was you'd be able to add people as contacts and they could add you back. You know, so you can't just be stalked by some random dude.
But to make an app, you need a database. I didn't want to overcomplicate things too much, so I went with Google's Firebase, a service which includes a database called Firestore and even a built-in authentication system. Some things are paywalled though, but at first sight it seemed I could avoid them. So I made a placeholder collection and started simple by designing the layouts for my app. I made a sign-in screen, a sign-up screen, a contacts page, a view for each contact, a simple user settings page, and the map view. For the map, I was thinking of using the Google Maps API. But what do you know? It's paywalled! So I ended up going with OpenStreetMap instead, which has Android app implementations. I love open source. So once that was done, it was on to coding. The sign-in and sign-up screens were easy enough. Firebase Auth is really straightforward to work with. All you need is an email and a password, and you're good to go. For the contact screen, I used a recycler view and designed a contact item I'd add as many times as the number of contacts you have. And I even coded the search bar so you can filter them. To add a new contact, you click on this button, and it'll ask for a username and the nickname you want to assign to them. Inside each contact, you can do a few things. You have the nickname and username, of course, and then you can set their permission, view their location, or remove them. But, apart from yes or no for the permission, I decided to add a scheduling function so you can say at what time ranges of what days that person can view your location. That would add a bit of complexity, but I was sure I'd be able to handle it. Also, you might have noticed I don't have a profile picture.
I just kept this default user icon for all users because images are much heavier than raw data, and I wanted to see how my free tier database did normally before adding custom profile pics. For the See Location button, I made it so it would flip the flag and enter the map view, and left it at that to test a basic setup, for which I need to set up the other side, the broadcaster. However, while researching how to do this, I found out it was not at all that simple, as a listener for a flag would not run unless the app was open, which is not very energy efficient. The solution in my case could be to use a message from FCM or Firebase Cloud Messaging, which can be set to trigger upon a change in the database, say the flag flipping, and is even able to wake up the app to make it broadcast location.
So I made an entire script for this in the Firebase Cloud Functions for my project, with a really efficient system that triggered not as a listener, but immediately upon actual changes, and when I ran the command to deploy the functions... Upgrade your project, are you kidding me?
So I needed a plan B. Luckily, I could still send an FCM message as long as I didn't use Firebase Cloud Functions, which means I needed to use an external Cloud Functions server. There were a few options, but the two best ones seemed to be Render and a VPS like Oracle Cloud.
My experience with Oracle Cloud is not the best, so I decided to go with Render. However, it goes to sleep after 15 minutes of inactivity, so I had to set up a cron job on its health endpoint using cronjob.org. But then it turned out the cron job didn't work, not sure why, so I set up my own cron job using an action in the GitHub workflows. The function script stayed largely the same. It wasn't as native, but it used basically the same tools, which themselves are luckily not paywalled.
Nonetheless, I decided to give my setup a little spin. Instead of having a simple sharing flag, which was very error-prone, especially when deciding when to switch it off, I did this. I created a new viewers collection, where each viewer would add their user ID. Then, the Cloud function itself would handle changes in this collection and send start and stop messages accordingly.
Also, to handle exceptions, the viewed device would delete viewers in their collection if they didn't update a timestamp, which is only updated while you're actually in the map view.
But anyway, all of this change meant I needed to modify my viewer side, so I decided to make it into its final form.
I added functions to open the location on Google Maps, in case you want to, say, navigate to it, and to follow the marker automatically. Also, apart from the previous timestamp handling, I made it so it continually checks if the schedule is still active, so you can't just bypass it by staying on the screen. So then I installed my app on my phone, viewed my location with the emulator, and it crashed. Turns out, I hadn't actually set nor handled the location and notification permissions. Also, apparently, you can't make a simple accept or deny dialog for the background location like you can do for the while using the app option. You need to at most redirect the user to the app settings so they can allow it from there. So I did that, and now it worked. Funnily enough, the emulator thinks it's in the Google headquarters.
But one thing I don't get is how WhatsApp does this without even using background location. Perhaps it has some special background permissions or something. But if anyone knows, please tell me down in the comments.
So the next thing I did was add some features for remaining buttons and give my app some identity. I named it Lightrack because, it's lightweight and it tracks location. Designed this logo, which in my opinion turned out cool as heck, and now the first version of my app was ready to see the world. To publish it, I needed a Google Play console account, which, to my surprise, only costs $25 for a lifetime. So I happily made the investment, and once my registration got accepted, I published my app.
Or more accurately, I spent forever going through a process with so many steps where I had to provide pictures of my app, create a privacy policy, justify permissions, create a bunch of tags, and deal with a bunch of other regulatory thingamajigs, all before being told that I had to run a closed test with at least 12 users for 14 days. So that meant the next step was to give early access to 12 friends. So thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video.
Fair enough.
So, after I expended all my social energy sharing the link, and being disappointed as I found out many of my acquaintances were actually iOS users, I finally got 12 Google accounts to register as testers. And now it was time to wait for a whole 2 weeks. After which, I can confidently say, every day, exactly 1 day goes by. I wasn't completely idle though, as during that period I did resolve some bugs, like visualization issues on dark mode, time formatting, duplicate usernames, and the thing not working on battery saver mode due to low priority requests. Well, not to mention I did this during exam period, but anyway.
2,000 years later.
Turns out, after the 14 days had passed, they let me apply for production and rejected me, saying it needed more testing. And they didn't even tell me why, they just emailed me a generic list of possible reasons.
There was a suggestion to enable edge-to-edge in my test, which really is just a minor UI thing, so I did that. But what most drew my attention was tester engagement, as one main reason for this kind of rejections are the testers not using the app enough apparently.
So I also tried to send my app to some more people and told my family to try and use it a bit more, and once a further 14 days had passed, they rejected me. Again. It was pretty clear at this point, edge to edge wasn't the issue, people just weren't using my app every day. So this time I logged in, got people who specifically assured me they could and would use my app, bothered them with notifications every day to at least open the app to boost that daily active user metric, and even got some of them to add a few reviews on Google Play. And once this period was over, I sent the app for review with little idea what I would do if they rejected it again, and it finally got accepted! Next up, I just needed to make a public release and publish it, and it turns out they needed to review it again? Well, whatever, that didn't take long, and the next day I found out they had now rejected my public release.
Why? Well, first because I hadn't declared the data collection purposes in the Play console, second because my privacy policy looked like this, and I didn't really know what else to write as I don't share data with third parties and don't even collect it for myself, and third because I had accidentally deleted the user I had given them to test my app. So I filled in that annoying form, used an online generator to get a reference for what a privacy policy looked like and then made my own, and recreated the user on my database. I then appealed the rejection, and after a few days, they rejected it again! Because apparently, they thought my app didn't have a justified reason for asking for background location permission. Like, that is literally what the app is for, what the heck are you on about? So I made yet another release with a ridiculously clear permission declaration, and it finally got accepted! My app was at last open for the whole world to use. And that means you can now get it as well.
I'd like to see how well it scales as the user base grows, so if you'd like to give it a try, I'd really appreciate it if you could install it and maybe even give me some feedback. I'll leave the link to it down in the description. Honestly, this was such a cool experience, well, other than for the fact that it took longer to get the app accepted than it actually took to make it. In fact, it's been so long that today is Christmas, so Merry Christmas everyone! But anyway, I now have an approved developer account, and that means I can turn any app ideas into reality. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future projects, and also like the video if you enjoyed. Hopefully we can revive this channel a bit, as it seems not many of you were interested in the Arduino tutorials and you do actually stop showing my videos to you. But anyway, that won't stop me, because I have some insane things cooking, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.